Well, hello again from DJ here, and thank you for coming to my channel and listening to what I've got to say. This is Wednesday and it's just gone past midday. It's 2 minutes past 12 in England, that is. Wherever you're watching from, I don't know. Love to hear from you. So comments are always welcome, as I've said before. And what I want to talk to you today about is what a Reform spokesman said. Yes, the Reform Party, Nigel Farage's party, is way up ahead now in the polls for the next election. They're way past Labour now and Conservatives and Green Party and all the other parties around there. And so what did this Reform spokesman say? Well, he said the civil service is antiquated way to do government, and in this country it needs a serious reform, playing on the name of his own party. And in councils, he mentioned, in councils across the country, Reform UK has proven that they will not be browbeaten or institutionalised by public servants. And that's what the civil service is, the public servants. Resulted in the Reform-led local authorities saving taxpayers £100 million in 100 days of taking charge of 10 councils. And he said, we will take this same determination with us to Whitehall, where the government sits. And so I want to tell you about my experience of the civil servants and how they behave. And so back in the 1970s until the mid 1980s, I worked at Birmingham Polytechnic for the City Council. City Council owned the Birmingham Polytechnic. Now, when it says Birmingham Polytechnic, it receives students from all over the country and all the local, what they call the Black Country, which is the industrialised Middle England, Wolverhampton, Warsaw, Birmingham, of course, and Wednesbury, and so on and like that. They would pay in to the funds to keep Birmingham Polytechnic going. And, later on it became the University of Central England and I was working for them. It's since changed its name, but I'd left by then and taken up employment in the private sector. Well, whilst employed by Birmingham Polytechnic, I was looking after the housing of students' accommodation and had cause to have dealings with council employees, not only within the role of working for the city, but also as a senior shop steward. I ran most things on the highest level within my union role and on several joint union committees, such as the Joint Union Liaison Committee. There might be some people here that will remember it, the Joint Union Liaison Committee. And we fought to keep the Birmingham Polytechnic running because it was running out of funds. The Labour Council at the time, run by, I won't mention his name, Clive Dickinson, was running short of money and they were using it for other things instead of Birmingham Polytechnic. So we fought. I was one of the leaders of the fort. There was another guy that went to work in the Middle East. And we fought. We won to keep the Polytechnic running. And we visited the House of Parliament and we had, under the Margaret Thatcher at the time, and we had backing from them. And we won and they kept it open. So, but what I want to tell you, I'll come back to Birmingham. I recall going in to meet the head of the caretaking and cleaning services. And as I entered a very small foyer, it wasn't really big enough, but this was one of the things that the people who visited them didn't have much room. Big offices with lots of staff, but no room for you if you wanted to talk. And if you want to discuss your personal business, it wasn't very personal by the time you left. Anyway, so I arrived at this small foyer to find a lady. She was a part-time cleaner. She was employed as a part-time school cleaner, and she was in tears as the clerk was telling her that her expected holiday pay, she was going on holiday, it was Friday afternoon, Friday evening, and she was going to finish she collected her wage slip, her money, and we got paid cash. Well, they got paid cash. She collected her wage slip and it had only got her wage for the week and not for her holiday pay. So, okay. So this lady was in tears, expecting her holiday pay, and it wasn't there. And the clerk, this lady, this young girl, Julie, she told her that her lady's holiday pay wasn't calculated. They'd forgotten it, they'd missed it, that she was on holiday, and she could receive it when she returned back to work a week later. She only could afford a week's holiday. And she could have her holiday pay when she returned. And then this lady, she tried explaining, but I need it for I've paid for my holiday, but I needed my holiday pay so I could enjoy the stay. And the clerk said, well, it's not been calculated. And she was quite shocked. It's not been calculated. I can't give it you. It hasn't been done. And I spoke up. I didn't ask this lady whether she was in my union or not. I just spoke up on her behalf. And I spoke up and I said, why was this lady's holiday pay not calculated? Why was she being sent away without her dues? Why had she been reduced to tears when the fault was not hers but the payment office? It was the clerk's turn now to look as if she was going to shed tears. The clerk replied, "You're shouting at me." I replied, "I never raised my voice, and I'm not shouting now." She replied, "I know, but we know when you're quiet, in your quiet voice, when you're shouting at us." I replied, "Just calculate what this lady's owed and pay her." Within 10 minutes, the head of the department I'd come to see brought the lady her monies. He brought it and invited me in for the meeting. Why couldn't it have been done before I spoke? And why was it able to be done within 10 minutes? Instead of leaving this lady in despair, crying, if I hadn't arrived, she'd have gone away, not being able to afford her holiday. That was one point. Okay. The point of my story is civil servants need a boost to get them to do their jobs. They do not consider themselves as servants of the people who employ them through our taxes, but consider themselves separated from the people that they're paid to serve. They look down on those who do not have the means of employment they possess. The employment they possess. It's wrong. It's wrong. It's wrong. Now let me go to another one. Another story that relates to my role as accommodations manager, not the union now, but the accommodations manager. I put in for repairs to buildings via the engineers department administration. Their role was to facilitate requests so that they went to the correct repairs departments, such as carpenters, electricians, plumbers, etc. I had waited for an urgent repair to be carried out. If it was not treated as urgent, a small job would become a large job with multiple damage being caused, but if done urgently, would remain a small job. I emphasised this on my requisition form, and I actually delivered my request to the city office by hand rather than put it in the internal post. Well, the job wasn't done, and the damage I'd forecast had begun. I went round to the repairs requisition office myself, where I will call him the manager, the head, I'll call him D. He was going out to lunch and would be back in half an hour. Could I come back? I let him go, but I remained at his desk. His staff looked apprehensive, but seemingly did not dare to speak up. They knew I was the union head. I started looking through his non-urgent tray and began to put them beside the tray. As I completed them, I was filling them in. I moved on, so it's the non-urgent tray. I moved on to the in tray, which he had separate from the non-urgent tray for some reason or other, and I completed them, laying them by the side of the tray. I moved to the next tray, doing the same, and then the last tray, which was the urgent tray. And in this tray was my request, still not processed. He'd not sent it. I completed it, stood up and gave it to one of the girls to take by hand to the appropriate repairs department, when Mr. D, he returned asking me what I'd done to his desk. How'd I upset his setup on his desk? Oh, well, was he upset? Well, I responded I'd completed all the work request sheets in all of his trays, and he said, "What? That's my week's work. We'll get even more work now." Civil servants are, in my experience, underworked, overpaid, and so full of their assumed authority over the people and departments they're employed to serve that this is why the country is in the state it is in. That was proof. It's my week's work. I'd done it in the half an hour he was away. Presumably the girls were the same in his office. I think there was 5 or 6 of them. Okay, as I commenced this post, a Reform UK spokesman said, "The civil service and the antiquated way we do government in this country needs serious reform." In councils across the country, Reform UK has proven that we will not be browbeaten or institutionalised by public servants, resulting in reform-led local authorities saving taxpayers £100 million in 100 days, and we will take this determination to Whitehall. Now, what I'm getting at here is Nigel Farage has declared if he becomes next Prime Minister, he will take us out to the European Court of Human Rights and other human rights laws to enable his government to evict illegal immigrants who currently are protected from being deported by such laws. However, the problems lie within the civil service. This is my comment, by the way. However, the problems lie within the civil service, who are supposed to offer advice and then enact the governments of the day's decisions. But they don't. They do not enact. They oppose. The civil service are supposed to be non-political, but they are. And what actions they take are in their way, not the government's way. Reform councillors, they're discovering this in the councils. Although they've managed to save 100 million in the first 100 days, they are discovering it in the councils they now run, in which city officials are refusing to listen and do. City chiefs are standing defiant against instructions. I can foresee a time coming shortly when the battleground will be in the courts, with Reform politicians against city employees, to declare lawfully who makes the decisions in local government and who it is that's employed to carry them out. It shouldn't need the courts. It should be the politicians are elected to carry out our will, and then the people employed in the cities carry them out. It's not happening. Mr. Farage is going to face many more hurdles. He will face them if he indeed becomes Prime Minister, even if he manages to pass his party's declarations on illegal immigrant evictions policy, the edicts that the Royal Navy work under will prevent them from stopping small boats and turning them back. He will be required, Mr. Farage as Prime Minister, will be required to beef up the border patrol services and, of course, a compliant French authority to receive them back, the illegal immigrants back, after they've breathed a sigh of relief that they got them out of their country. Your comments are greatly appreciated. Please press the subscribe button. YouTube have slowed me down. I've been sanctioned for a post I did that they didn't like, and I was warned of it. There was a 90-day delay unless I took one of their remedial courses. I didn't take it, and so it's gone on and on since April. I have eventually taken the course. It was just 7 questions to answer, 10 questions to answer, which were so stupid I just answered them. They said I'd passed, and so they've now given me another 90-day delay to take me to November the 11th. Or is it October? I can't remember. Anyway, so they're blocking me in many ways from receiving your subscriptions and you getting to see these posts. So if you are able to see these posts, if you are able to subscribe, please subscribe, please make your comments on this post, and please press the like button. Now, as I said, I really enjoy reading your comments, so make your comments known. Press the subscribe button so I can continue, and be good, be right, do what's right, and be safe as well, and I'll see you in the next one. So until then, bye from DJ. Bye, bye, bye.